everyone. As part of a Connected Educators Month, Dr. Joanne Cashman will be discussing the critical role of community building strategies that they play in developing a community of practice. She has shared these strategies with the Ohio Department of Education and the Great Lakes East Comprehensive Center as part of its technical assistance provided in support of Ohio's competency-based education policy, known as credit flexibility. Dr. Cashman is the director of IDA Partner. The IDA partnership supports the development of communities of practice nationwide that bring directors, decision makers, practitioners, and consumers into shared work. In this brief recording, Dr. Cashman will share the IDA approach to successful building of a community of practice. Joanne?
Thank you, Asta. And thanks everybody for clicking on this to learn a little bit about what we're doing and how we do it. I'm really delighted to take this opportunity to share this work. As Asta said, we build communities of practice that join decision makers, practitioners, and consumers in the same community. And that might be a little different than some of the ways that other people have been developing communities of practice. There are multiple ways to create the infrastructure for building a community of practice. But we find that when you bring those that that have authority over some of the issues that we care about most, and those that have influence, together with those that are affected by that work, you really get the best mix of perspectives and the best mix of ideas for moving forward. And as you can tell, I'm at my desk, and we just had a little beep there from our front door notice, but I took that off, and we should be fine from this point on. So thanks again for coming to this session to learn a little bit about what we do. So what we have on the screen here is the graphic that we have put together to describe what we've learned in over 10 years of trying to do this work. We started our first communities of practice in 2002, and we've been building communities of practice ever since. Along the way, we've learned a lot, and a lot of it is really complex, interconnected pieces of work, but there's some big ideas that apply no matter what the topic is that we're building communities around. And we build communities of practice as our activity. We try to build those around different topic areas, bringing people together in issues as diverse as transition from school to work, college to career, school-based and community-based mental health, bringing people together on specific issues like autism spectrum disorder. And then the work that we're going to describe to you today, which is the work we did with the Ohio Department of Education on an issue called Credit Flex. Now, let me just say a little bit about the work that we're doing together to support a state. And a lot of this that I'm going to be talking to you about today and showing you today is specific to Ohio, but it's completely transferable to any issue. It's also transferable to any level of scale. So these ideas apply whether you're talking about a national approach, a state approach, such as we're going to look at today, or a community approach, a school approach. We believe these ideas are really transferable. So let's take a look at what we have here. After 10 years of doing this work, we kind of call this the IDA partnership way, because we acknowledge that there are multiple ways to build communities of practice. The communities of practice that we organize are called communities of practice for strategic advantage. In other words, they involve sharing, but they are about people coming together to create a difference in practice, a better way to do something together, with a focus on the multiple roles that can actually achieve that difference in practice and sustain it. So for us, there are really four quadrants. We begin by bringing people together around issues. And as you see to the side there on this PowerPoint slide, the emphasis here in this quadrant is shared concerns. What is going to bring people together? The next quadrant then is the right mix of stakeholders. And this is one that I really can't stress enough. The idea of really crossing the boundaries of role, of level of scale, of perspective is so important. And asking ourselves, who must really be involved in this issue to ensure that there is a change in practice? The next quadrant then is doing work together, because when you bring people together, they stay together longer if they believe that the work they're doing together is going to benefit them, that they can see that you're doing real work and that real work has a purpose. So in this quadrant, we really think about building the relationship that will support doing not just this work, but other work that we need to do together, and to focus on the goals that each of the partners has. So if there are multiple partners, understanding why they care about this issue and what it is that they would like to see to sustain their role in the work is really important. The last quadrant here is new kinds of leadership. And we could start out with this actually, but we put it as the last quadrant because you really need to learn through interacting with people what it means to lead by convening. Now, a lot of people, we talk about a lot of leadership skills, but leading by convening, to our estimation, is one of the most important skills and really is the way of leadership in the future. In other words, in many of the opportunities that we've had to bring people together, many of the ideas are already kind of laid out, and we bring people together, but what we really want them to do is to validate what we already have in mind. And through a community of practice approach and through moving through all these other quadrants, we really learned that that is really not the way that we're going to get people on board with an issue in any sustainable way. So leading by convening, we think, is sort of the end product of going through these other quadrants, and really shows us what the leadership skill in a community is. That is, how can we really have the issue open to bringing other points of view in while the strategies are still being formulated? And how can we translate challenges into ways that individuals can contribute? If all the individual can do is listen to the leader talk about this, it's unlikely they're going to feel very connected to this work. So leading by convening is really the leadership skill, we think, of the future that allows individuals to really feel connected and a part of this work. It's not easy, but it's important. And so we're going to share with you today some of the ways that we think state agencies can do that. And as I've said earlier, equally applies to school districts and other levels of scale, even a school building, a school community. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today is how interaction can build understanding. And interaction is really the key. Participation, active participation. And so it requires that we think about some of the ways we've done things and some of the ways we may want to do them in the future. So, let's look on the left-hand side of the screen for a minute. Some of our traditional ways of doing things have really been formal interactions, trainings, information out. Somebody with expertise tells those that need to know information. Webinars, guidance and other documents, information that is shared with districts from like a state office. If you're looking at the local level, it would be shared from the district office out to the schools and those school communities. A lot of what we do is shared at big meetings where there is limited time for interaction. And of course, there are many other ways. You know them well. These are the ways that we've been doing business for a long time. But we want you to look on the right side of the screen about more informal ways, not to eliminate the formal ways, but to add to that some informal ways or some social ways of learning. So what if we put up a public calendar where everyone could contribute to what they're doing on a particular issue, and they would be able to see the extent of the activity that might be going on, in this case statewide, or in a district, district-wide. What if after a webinar we had something like a wiki, a public space where people could go on, comment, say what was useful to them, say what they would like to know more about? What if we had a public space like that? Do you think that individuals might feel more connected if they did? The other thing would be, let's talk a little bit about how you build on that idea of um, some kind of public a statement, a formal way. What if after using that a wiki or taking public comment, we created some polls where individuals might be able to express the extent to which they know about an issue, that they believe their colleagues know about an issue? What if we did that kind of interaction routinely after meetings to get some sense from the field as to what else needs to happen? We might create a way in which the field feels a little more connected to the decisions that the decision makers make and the strategies that they choose. Let's take a little bit of a look at blogs. What if we took the results of a poll and we asked individuals to articulate some perspectives that might have been articulated through a simple poll about do people know this? Do they not know it? Do they believe it? Do they not believe it? What stands in our way? What if we then took that and we said, you know what, we heard this. We heard you say this. And we're going to articulate some of those perspectives in a group of polls with some designated bloggers that are going to let us explore some of what we learned from you more fully. What if the documents that might be shared from, in this case, a Department of Ed, are accompanied by documents that would be shared from other sources? Now, I'm not saying that we would just open it up and anybody can post what they want, but through various kinds of structures that you set up to make sure that the documents are correct. What if documents from the state source are accompanied by districts from other sources, maybe some professional associations, maybe some advocacy groups that have information to share? In public work, we have to be very careful that we're not lobbying for one perspective or another, but we're putting the perspectives out there. What if we opened that up so that multiple sources are shared? What if districts, and then in this case we're talking about a state agency, but what if districts were invited to compile some of their best strategies and share it on a site? And what if we made an active outreach to individuals that are in these deep and durable networks that exist out there in the states already? I mean, people are much more open to information that they receive from groups that they voluntarily affiliate with. And we think that, bringing those groups in as allies is really an important part of changing the way we interact. So we'd like to take a look at this slide because for us, this is a way of starting to look at what's the extent to which, whether you're a state agency or whether you're a local school district, what's the extent to which you're using formal channels, informal channels, and kind of mixing it up so that you're creating a way to get out what you know you need to get out, but also create the interaction with individuals so that they feel that they are a part of the process. So let's take a look at this example from Ohio. As I said, Great Lakes East, the IDA Partnership, and the Ohio Department of Ed are coming together around a new initiative called Credit Flex. It's a new opportunity promoted by the State Board of Education. Adopted districts are going to be able to decide in what ways students can earn credits other than seat time. And that's an individual district decision with some guidance by the Department of Education, some of the parameters set there. So now it's pretty clear that, you're not going to be able to direct all of this from the state office. The important information here is going to come from building this relationship with the field. And Ohio is one of the first to look at this idea of both formal, to set the parameters, and informal learning to create that kind of a relationship through a community of practice with their stakeholders around the issue of credit flex. So as we take a look at a sample of what this might look like, let's follow these numbers around and just do a little bit of understanding how this might work on a specific issue using some of the strategies that I talked about a little before. So let's take a fairly formal strategy, okay? And so it's down here on the bottom in this quadrant of formal learning. And it's information that is going from the Department of Ed, so it's on the left side of the screen, to individuals. It's not really developed collaboratively. And, there are a lot of things that have to be done this way. So, number one on this slide is described as the Department of Education releases a document, some of the grounding information, the parameters about what this initiative is. People in the field are looking for this. This is an important thing to do. People are counting on it. So this formal learning is not necessarily something you're going to give up. It's something you're going to build on. And it's actually the place where we start here by labeling this as number one. So let's take a look at number two. It's still in the formal learning because it's on the bottom of our screen, but it's more in the right side of the screen. So you're doing this with individuals. You're going to hold a webinar and there'll be some opportunity for questions. So it's more on it's not just something that's presented to people. It's presented, but there's also a little bit of interaction. So we're moving it more to this side of the screen. Then look what we're doing over here in the next one. We'll take a look at number three. The department starts a wiki on a partnerships in this case a partnership sponsored site, but in other cases it could be in another sponsored venue. So this wiki is a collaboration site where people can start to put their ideas. They can say what they learned, what they need to learn, what they liked, what there's still questions about. They can point to other documents that help them understand this concept. So this wiki is a collaborative site. And so, of course, we're moving it to the top. It's a little bit more informal, and it's something that we do with the field, but still, it's got an element there where it's just not an open site like anything you can go to on the internet and just put anything you want. There's some parameters around it that you build together about what counts as the kind of things that we want to put here and engage the field with. Then let's take a look at number four. After looking at this wiki, let's take, say the department took a look at what came in on the wiki and said, you know what, look at all this stuff that people are putting here about this particular aspect of credit flex. Let's put a poll out there broadly from the Department of Ed to the field and check for understanding on this concept. Let's check for the understanding. To what extent do you understand this? To what extent do you think your colleagues understand this? Let's get some feedback from the field. Then after that poll, they get the comments on the poll, they might say, okay, here are some ideas that particular groups say they have a question about. So what would they do? They would start some invited bloggers from various perspectives in the roles that may have some issues with the concepts that are presented or questions about it, or actually maybe they want to be clear about the fact that it completely aligns with something that they're already doing. So here's some invited bloggers would clarify some of these perspectives or bring new perspectives to it. Now, you see, this is quite different than just releasing a document. It still starts with releasing a document, but as you follow this around, the department in this case has done two things that are very much like their previous formal kinds of learning, and then they have moved up to the top of this these quadrants, and they're looking at informal ways to add on to the things that they have typically done and to engage the field more directly in the work that they're doing. Now, the last and the most important of all of this is number 6. because this is where the relationship gets established, where the DOE, the Department of Education in this case, school district in your case, maybe an organization in your case, actually says, here's what we did, and here's what we learned at each of these points along the way, and here's what we're going to do based on what we've learned with you. So it sets up this opportunity for people feeling like they had some input into the work, and setting up the opportunity that more of these opportunities will exist. It goes a long way on building the relationship, which actually can be one of the most important pieces of really implementing some of the things that that really can be the most challenging. We believe that this idea of actively engaging individuals is one of the most important keys in creating a community of practice that actually can change practice. And by engaging individuals, they really get they begin to take on an identity of collaborators, as collaborators, that helps this work become much more sustainable. So this is building on the formal kinds of strategies that we have always had, and adding to that these informal strategies, social learning strategies that really actively and in very essential ways change the relationship between decision makers, decision makers, practitioners, and the intended beneficiaries of our work, to bring them into a learning alliance together that makes our work so much more sustainable. This is the work that we've been trying to do for about 10 years, and you know, it's still challenging every day, but we see in many, many cases a different kind of response when these informal strategies are added to the formal strategies we already have in place. So I thank you for the opportunity to share some of this with you today. And we have a number of other strategies on our websites. You can go to www.sharedwork.org and see the public side of the Great Lakes work. You would have to join that community to see some of their private side, but a lot of this information is on their public pages. At that site, you'll also be able to see the other communities of practice that we organize using some of these same principles. And the IDA Partnership is our project website. Some of the basic information about communities of practice is posted there. As well, Great Lakes East has great information. They've been a great collaborator with us. And we're really trying to work across federal investments to support the states in doing this work across federal investments to help local districts, organizations, other groups benefit from the work that we have done in supporting states together based on these federal investments in communities of practice, and actively translate that work to your work. So we're anxious to hear from you. We're anxious to engage with you. And this is a great new frontier of new leadership and shared leadership on the issues that we care about, that we're very excited to begin and to do this with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Joanne. This is great information. And thank you for sharing your 10 years of useful strategies and tips of building an active and engaged and strong community of practice, really at all levels, not just state level, but at all levels. This is useful to know how to bring together a mix of stakeholders to work on issues of common importance and lead in new ways. And this is critical in today's technology enriched world and people working in diverse settings.
Absolutely.
So we hope you find this information useful, practical in your work, and you can check out these resources, as Joanne mentioned, at your leisure. idapartnership.org, sharedwork.org, and if you want to see the Community of Practice of Ohio in action, click on Credit Flex on that site when you go to sharedwork.org. And as always, you can email us at Great Lakes East info@air.org, and we'll help you with any further questions or comments. Thank you, Joanne, so much, and thank you
so much,
everyone
Asta.
for listening.
Bye.